Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from the pristine suburban developments, sociopathic teenage offspring, and desperate parental cover-ups of familial psychological suspense, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of elite metropolitan penthouse suites, weaponized corporate inheritance schemes, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an ambitious high-society female asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, glass-walled towers of a multi-million-dollar estate layout, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, greed-fueled deception matrix with "you'll miss me when I'm gone," an exceptional, pulse-pounding contribution to the deadly ambition collection, engineered by the absolute, undisputed sovereign of razor-sharp domestic noir, high-society sociopathy, and high-velocity marital espionage, A.R. Torre. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, underestimated female career asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating, deceptively charming elite predator running a high-stakes proximity tracking routine, and an absolute defense of an individual's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged prenuptial agreements, corrupt legal estate gaslighting, and a deadly ring of active financial frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised corporate ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated contractual boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory corporate network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, ambitious trophy wife discovers her wealthy husband's dark secret only to realize her own calculated exit strategy has been intercepted by a lethal adversary, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Torre completely dominates the high-precision billionaire paranoia meets suffocating extortion countermeasures dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Gillian Flynn, B.A. Paris, Liv Constantine, and Lucinda Berry, while treating realistic forensic financial logistics, complex marital alignment arcs, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of massive social surveillance, high-stakes financial vulnerabilities, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas across the corporate elite ecosystem. Behind her rigorous high-end account registry footprints and tense personal scheduling logs lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried marital hostility, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of trying to secure her financial independence and surviving complex psychological ambushes, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an aggressive marital shadow handler, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her close circle of elite associates, and shielding her vulnerable personal sovereignty nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless asset cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected, high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A covert offshore transaction or a hidden surveillance bug inside her private sanctuary node instantly cross-references her husband's secret agenda with a high-level calculated malice. As the hostile predator's execution phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across her ticking clock timeline, a series of anonymous legal threats, targeted account freezes, and calculation-heavy social standoffs threaten to permanently eliminate her independent perimeter. The official diagnostic metrics of the global tracking centers flash white-hot when her unauthorized counter-surveillance maneuvers and raw deductive output reveal that an insidious dark economy operating behind closed boardroom doors is radically, impossibly altering her historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine marital decorum and peaceful corporate compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonist run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war behind the pristine facade of their penthouse estate, where deceptive legal entities masking their true tracking coordinates, highly manipulative business handlers, and a calculation-heavy psychological shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the isolated executive offices, dark private elevator shafts, and fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw emotional stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep institutional leverage, continuous high-tech surveillance loops, and persistent psychological dominance to break her resolve, only to realize her hardened defensive protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight forensic archival excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Billionaire elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as AR Torre reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial divorce threat or managing a difficult financial disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and narcissistic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their shared perimeter, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient heroine must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, domestic suspense noir, wealth mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one intercepted wire transfer triggers a fatal penthouse showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Torre writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive designer leather, French champagne, high-end server hardware, dynamic adrenaline, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unput-outable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.